I would say, again, if you can lean into what your core values are and understanding what they are, which is a process, but once you have those nailed down, and then living a life by design and not default.
Hey everybody, my name is Tom LaFaso. This is the Follow the Winners podcast. Today I'm with a special guest, Bob Mittleman. We're going to be talking about Follow the Winners, obviously, what success means to him, talking about fear, spirituality. We're going to dive into a bunch of different topics. So I have Bob with me today. Bob, please introduce yourself.
What do I look?
You can look at this.
I'm Bob Mittleman, and I'm very happy to be here today. Thanks, Tom. Thanks,
Cool.
Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I know Bob through my networking American Business Associates. We met in, I want to say, November of 2022. And he's been great. He's super knowledgeable and just like overall a great networker. So it's definitely great to have you on here and learn some more things about you. We've spoken many times at this point. But so tell me about yourself. Like, what do you do for a living and who are you?
It's a good question. I was trying to figure that out. I would say I'm at Bob Mittleman 3.0 at this point.
Nice.
1.0 was a successful 17-year career on Wall Street. Actually went there kicking and screaming, didn't really want to be there because my dad was in the business. I had worked with him every summer from 8th grade through college and was very successful in whatever was thrown at me every summer.
You were on Wall Street with her working?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
I was a finance major. I graduated from University of Hofstra. I started at Ithaca and then ended up graduating, transferred to Hofstra.
Nice.
Which I really should have gone from day one. It was just a great, great school. I didn't go to day one because it was local, that all this stuff, but I would highly recommend that school to anybody. Anyway, I had it prior to 9/11, but that was a tipping point. And then June of 2002, I was let go by Merrill Lynch, who had just recently purchased a company I was working for. They just couldn't make it work. So it was an easy let go. Didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. So I hired a career coach, which at the time, there were like 2 career coaches, and now
there's really is.
Yeah. So I read about an article. I read about this person in an article in the Wall Street Journal. She went to Hofstra. I went to Hofstra, so I called her up. Her name was Deborah Brown. And she said that your job shouldn't be your job, it should be your passion. So I said, yeah, right. Click. Who likes what they do? And then it dawned on me just by seeing different things. And my analogy is when you're looking for a car, you see that car everywhere. It's like Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. Everybody was Bugs Bunny. So I started noticing that people that were very successful loved what they did. Oprah, Martha Stewart, Trump at the time, if I'm allowed to say that, Bill Gates, Buffett.
Yeah.
All highly, highly successful people. So I called her up and I hired her. And after some work, what came back was my 2 passions were fitness and coaching, which made a lot of sense because I've always been into fitness.
Yeah.
I'm a runner, and I've been into lifting weights and my nutrition, stuff like that. And coaching made a lot of sense too, because when I worked on Wall Street, you want to sit to the left or right of me. I trained many, many people to go on to huge careers because I knew how to navigate those piranha-filled waters, I call them.
You grew up in it.
I grew up in it.
Yeah.
And I never know if I was up or down money-wise throughout the course of the day. I joke around that I was Clark Kent all day long, except from 9:30 to 4 o'clock, I was Michael Jordan. And you had to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
So now what do I do with this fitness and coaching thing? And I found myself getting certified as a personal trainer. I was looking at some large box gyms as an investment with some people behind me, and I had visited 3 or 4 of them, and there was always one thing here, one thing there, didn't make sense. So the last day of the certification class, they handed out a trade magazine, and it was and they call it an advertorial for what's called Fitness Together, it's a franchise out of Colorado. And their motto was one client, one trainer, one. And in English, what that meant was you work with a personal trainer in your own room, no distractions, nobody bothering you. I'm like, I would do that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And it's coaching, fitness. Boom. So I looked into the franchise and bought into it. I opened up in May of 2005. And I recently just sold it last September. So 17-year run, which was incredible. During that run, I worked with many, many people and changed lives. It also changed my lives. I used to joke around, but it's actually not a joke. Your success is my success.
Mm-hmm.
As an offshoot from that, I started coaching runners privately.
Mm-hmm.
I coach at a local high school, St. Dominic's High School in Oyster Bay, track and cross country. I just had to finish my 11th year. And I got involved with American Build Associates, ABA, which is where I am now. Before I even opened up Fitness Together, Ellen Gopi, the founder of ABA, was with me at a Sandler sales class and invited me to a meeting, to which I said, "What's ABA? Is Dr. J going to be here? Like, what is this thing?" Like, I had no clue.
Yeah.
And I went to the meeting, and I was blown away. So I joined day one because I knew I needed help.
Yeah.
It just felt like a high oxygen, high octane level of people.
Mm-hmm.
And no regrets. I've still been involved with them. I learned so much, this art of business development / networking.
Yeah.
And so 4 or 5 years ago, she asked me to facilitate councils, they're called within that world, to which I said no. I got enough of my plate. And then one thing led to another, and I found myself facilitating a group in Hauppauge, and now I have 4 councils.
Wow.
So I started Fitness Together in September, and right now my main businesses are coaching runners, facilitating councils with ABA, meaning people like yourself.
Yeah.
And I also dabble in real estate from time to time. But the common denominator in all this is coaching.
Yeah.
It's coaching and fitness. Here I am, Did I need to meet Deborah Brown? Probably not. Did she push me towards this? 100%.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, she was kind of like a compass for you, point you in the right direction.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
Huh.
Good.
No, it's all super interesting. Your background. There's something you said too that I'm trying to remember that I didn't know. Why'd you sell the personal training business? Are you just tired of it?
It was time. It would run its course.
Yeah.
17 years is a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yes, most time dog years. 7, like 100. I had seen pretty much everything at that point. I joke around a lot. I've seen that movie before.
Yeah.
A common denominator too with Fitness Together and ABA. And Fitness Together, when I would sit across with somebody, they would say to me, Bob, not all the time, but most of the time, this working out thing, it never works. I don't even know why I'm here. I don't need a trainer. It's horrible. It's horrible. I'm leaving. I'm like, I've never heard that before with them. Laugh, and I would laugh. And the rest is history. Well, networking in any way, people I speak to all the time, Bob, this networking thing, it never works. I belong to 1,000 groups. I never get a referral. It sucks. And I'm like, I've never heard that before, and they'll laugh and I laugh, and it's work.
Yeah. I mean, that's the common thing between them both, is you have to put in that extra work. You have to go an extra mile, send those extra emails, do an extra rep, go for a walk when you don't want to, all those things.
So I started it because it was time. You just know when it's time.
Yeah.
And then long term, and my goal is to leave New York in about 2 years. And I know selling a business is not selling, hey, I'm going to sell it, you sell it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
So I'm already, you could have a year or two. Yeah, probably. But I really wanted to get that off my plate so I have a clean
Yeah.
slate
Yeah.
for if and when.
Did you have a location for that business?
Yeah, it was in Huntington, not the village of Huntington. It was really raw West Hills. It was on Jericho Turnpike.
They were like private rooms.
Private rooms. I'll tell you a story. We opened up in May of '05 in Woodbury. And in April of '09, the building went up in flames.
Oh, wow.
They closed Jericho Turnpike.
Wow.
Yeah. I was there that day. I wasn't supposed to be. And I thought it might have been a sign from up above that this was time to move on.
That's a bad idea.
And what happened from there was the Fox Hollow Inn called me up and offered me an amazing opportunity to stay afloat. And I thought it was a joke. I thought they were punking me. It was like $70 a night, all in. They emptied out a suite for us. Wow. We just brought over equipment. Not everything. It was like all the fitness together light. But what it allowed us to do was stay afloat. And what ended up happening, every single client came with us to the Fox Hollow Inn. I actually signed 2 people up in the courtyard.
Wow.
And 4 months later, we reopened in the Huntington location in a phenomenal strip mall with a phenomenal landlord. It was double the size, half the rent of where I was before. It was like,
So it worked out.
it was amazing. Like it was meant to be. I did not start the fire, everybody. That did not start the fire. We had the running in that area. That area, I don't know if you know Huntington at all, but it's like Queens.
Yeah.
People walked to places, and it was like going from a foreign country to another foreign country. From Woodbury to Huntington, and the shopping centers they were night and day.
Yeah.
And so we hit the ground running day one. And yeah, I opened up the new location August '09, and I sold it in September of 2020.
Wow. That's crazy. That was super inspiring too. I mean, it's also kind of just shows you like the beauty of life, where your life can come crashing down. Then a few months later, you're just like, whoa, that's why that happened. It's
Unbelievable. One of our favorite events was we called it was a client appreciation night. I used to call it the Thank God the Holidays is Over event. So we used to have a Saturday night before the Super Bowl. So usually a 2-week break between the NFL championship games and the Super Bowl. So that Saturday between the break, man, we go bowling.
so cool.
And we went out with the clients bowling. And if you ever walked in there, took with us or walked into the bowl, you would think it was just a high school reunion or whatever. It was a bunch of people that belonged to a gym hanging out together going bowling. So you talk about building community and everything. Yeah. I loved that night. I loved that night because it was so much fun, and we had a great turnout.
Probably a lot of common people showing up. Same thought processes and trying to grow their life.
Yeah.
So cool. I feel like this is a great segue into really like the second question, which is about success. So I ask everybody the same question, which is, what does success mean to you? So from your definition, what do you think it means?
I think success means leaning into your core values and living a life by design and not default.
Okay.
So what that does mean in English is really focusing on what makes you work on a daily basis and lifting that up on every day. And when you can do that, then you're a success, and everything else will follow.
Yeah.
It took me a while to get there. However, meeting people along the way, even like yourself, and watching people how they changed their lives. And listen, I walk the talk and talk the walk. I like I said, I've seen every movie. I got involved with an organization called the Ultimate Game of Life, and it kind of came full circle for me when I met that organization. Yeah. And it's people across the country involved with it, and that's when the light bulb started going off for me. So I would say, again, if you can lean into what your core values are and understanding what they are, which is a process, but once you have those nailed down, and then living a life by design, not default.
Oh, that's probably the best definition I feel like we've gotten so far on the podcast. Very specific, but it is true. Leaning into the things that you love, right? Like, I mean, you basically just said it before. It's finding something you love and pursuing it kind of thing, which is absolutely massive for anybody who's looking to grow. Also, a reason why, I mean, you asked me this before we even hit record for the podcast, is like why I'm doing this. A big reason why I'm doing this, and I'm trying to create other content as well, is to motivate people, because there's so many people in this world that are lost and show up to jobs they don't like. You know, you did it for however many years, you know, almost 20 years basically, working in a place. Yeah, money is great and all that, but like, you can pay someone all the money in the world if they don't do what they love. It's not worth it.
100%. You know, I had a successful career on Wall Street. I did. So it's I speak from what I speak of. I know all this stuff. I really do. And when you're able to have a career that you're passionate about and live not just that career, but also your life personally, I mean, it's like rah shish gumbar, you know, like that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants to be able to live their personal life to the fullest, right? I think that's why so many people are so stuck up on weekends, and it's like, oh, it's Friday, yeah, the weekend's here, I get to live my personal life. It's like, yeah, but you just went 5 days not doing anything that you want to do. I heard someone the other day ask a very simple question, even for myself was like kind of tough, which was, what was the last day that was filled of bliss? Just 100% bliss the entire day, like a full 12, 24 hours kind of thing. And I was just like, holy shit, like when was the last time I had a day of just straight bliss? You know, like I love what I do, don't get me wrong, but like I don't wake up in the morning like, this is the best thing ever. Like, seriously, well, and I had to think, and I was like, oh, actually, it was when I went snowboarding with all my buddies. I was like, that was like one of the greatest days I've had in a long time. It was just the entire day. It was just fun. I didn't want it to end, you know, at the sunset. You're like, please just give me a few more hours, you know, like, and I feel like we all need to harp on those a lot more, because it's super important to be able to find bliss in your life on a daily basis, you know.
Look how you just lit up. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, again, we have to make money to go for the family. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that. However, it all follows. It really does.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So, all right, cool. So tell me about, you kind of went into it a little bit. So like, tell me about your endeavors right now. The question is, tell me about your business, and then why do you do it? Like, why do you wake up every day and continue to be a facilitator for an ABA and train people? Like, why do you do that?
I really like watching people change their lives, both professionally and personally. I get so much from that all the time. So that's what gets me going each day. Many times in these ABA meetings, you know, I'll hear, you know, like Bob just said, like, that's pretty good. Yeah. Like, I'm involved in theater, musical theater. And that's another story in itself. But I always look to help my fellow thespians be the best that they can be in that platform as well. And coaching at St. Dominic's High School over the last 12 years, there are so many student athletes that I had an effect on that I didn't even know I had an effect on. There was one afternoon about 4 or 5 years ago where Mom came up to me and said, I just want to thank you for what you've done for my daughter. To which I replied, what did I do? And she said, ever since she met you, she was a soccer player freshman year, and then she joined track and then ran cross country. She said her confidence was so low, but when she met you and participated in your program and with your guidance, her grades went through the roof. She's just a different woman.
Wow.
And I said to myself and to Mom, what you just said, wow. and thank you for sharing that. And everything she said was, I didn't recognize, but the more she talked about it, I see that. And I see that a lot.
I believe it.
So that's what gets me going each day.
No, I mean, I totally believe it. That's got to be, I feel like the high school stuff has to be tough, though, because high school kids are just,
They're very hard.
yeah, they're hard to deal with.
And they've gotten harder.
Oh, yeah.
And people say, oh, no,
sure.
yeah, it's not, it's not easy, but listen, it's a process too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a process.
No, I totally understand. I signed up, I think I might have told you, I signed up for Big Brothers Big Sisters in like September, and they gave me a 16-year-old to mentor. And it's funny, when I first signed up, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get like a group of boys and I'm gonna be able to like, and they're like, oh, you got one kid to like, and I was like, oh, I thought I was gonna get like 10 kids that I got to like hang out with and whatever. Then I kind of thought to myself, I was like, all right, like if I want to help people, I have to start with one, right? Like I have to. So it's been really cool, and I'm learning about myself and helping this kid. But I do understand how tough it is to like break through to some of these people and build those trust relationships. But also what I'm hearing too, like from that short story you just said, that like even growing up when I was in sports, if it was lacrosse or soccer, I actually had the same coach for both lacrosse and soccer, and he was the worst. Like the guy was just terrible. And I probably would have been a lot better at sports if I had a better coach. If he just like cared a little bit more and actually like didn't just pick favorites and just stick with those people. Like, I don't know. And those are super powerful things to be able to like give a kid that confidence to be like, no, you can do these things. Yeah, he might be a little bit better than you, but just try a little bit harder. You got this. And like creating a program that allows that, obviously with all your coaching experience prior to that, it allowed you to have programs and, in your head, basically, I'm sure you already knew it right away. Okay, this is exactly how we're going to get these people from point A to point B.
All the experiences that I've had within the personal training studio.
Yeah.
Listen, not everybody succeeded.
Yeah.
However, I would give you the tools to succeed. At that point, there's work on your end too. There's no safe place. Same thing with coaching track and cross country, and the same thing with facilitating business development groups. Like I said, I've seen pretty every movie in a personal training and running his business development groups on both sides of the fence, being a member and being a facilitator, and in coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were once the player, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that definitely helps, especially if you have like bad coaches. You know exactly what not to do.
Exactly. Huge effect on you. Huge effect. Absolutely.
There are a lot of people, I mean, even motivational people I listen to, and they say that. They're like, oh, this coach told me in high school that I would never amount to anything, and now it's, however many years later, and they're like, look at where I am, That's just kind of life. But it's also those people that they sometimes have to tell you those things in order for you to progress through them, So since we're talking about like sports and all that, the next thing I like to ask everybody is about winning, because it is the Follow the Winners podcast. So have you ever won at anything specific in life? Really anything. It doesn't have to be like a sport. It could be business related. It could be family related. Whatever. Anything.
I would say that personally, well, I'm going to do two things. One, I ran I qualified for the Boston Marathon a number of times.
That's pretty good.
I think 5.
Wow.
Maybe 4. And for the longest time, to qualify for the Boston Marathon, you have to run a certain time. Unless if you're in charity, then you just run the charity.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. So, and at the time that I had to run 3 hours and 10 minutes to qualify.
In 26 miles, like a phone.
26.2.
Yeah.
26.2.
Holy crap.
So my first marathon I ran New York City. I think it was 3:57. And the next one I ran was like 3:20. And then I ran 3:11, 3:13, 3:15. I could not break 3:10. And
that's insane. You're like sprinting.
So Chicago 2004, which was right around my 40th birthday. I had run the previous April in Nashville and crashed. They call it hitting the wall at like mile 14.
Oh,
It was torture. And I was on pace to run a significant, well under 310, but that's probably why I crashed. So I was determined I'm breaking 310. And I ran 307.
wow. Wow.
And from that point on, I continued to break 310.
Really? Because you knew you can do it. That's like that old story of when nobody could run a 6 or 7 minute mile, I think it was.
4 minute mile.
4 minute mile? Yeah, then the one guy comes out and does it, and then everyone starts banging it out.
Yeah, so that's a huge story. And another personal story, I used to be very, very shy and not good at public speaking. And I got involved with Toastmasters, which I highly recommend as a tool.
Bob Deacon that we just had on the podcast. You know Bob Deacon?
Yeah.
He's a Toastmaster. He just told me, actually, I haven't answered his text message yet, but he was telling me that there's an event this month that he's going to be speaking. I was like, yeah, I should do that.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So I touched on musical theater. In 2015, my daughters, I have 3 children. My son is more of the athlete. He's a musician as well. Plays the piano, but he's had the athletic genes in the family. My 10 daughters were more in the arts. So my youngest daughter, both singers. My youngest daughter was in a show, Joseph and the Technicolor Magico. And they announced to the audience, this summer we're doing OPG, please come down. So at intermission, I went up to the director/producer, and I thanked him for allowing Grace to be in the show. And I said, what's OPG? And he said, All People's Grace. Like, All People's Grace. He said, you want to try out? I'm like, no.
Like the Grace? Like, or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, well, come on down. So I said, you know what? This is all in my head. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go down. Why not? Let me see what this feels like. I can't sing or dance, but I'm sure there's speaking parts. And I actually, through Toastmasters, was getting better and better at public speaking. And by the way, the reason why I know that is at Fitness Together, I was asked to speak at the conference in front of like 200 people over and over again. And I got great feedback. So I'm like, okay, I could do this, you know? So I went down to the audition. It was a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and you had to fill out an application. And it said, you know, what key are you singing? What's the key? And I was low. And everybody who was coming into the audition this was like their dream come true. This person was Sandy in high school. This person was Danny. And this person did this show, that show. I'm like, what am I doing here, you know? So I went into the audition, and they said, what are you singing? I said, I don't sing. What are you doing here? I'm like, I was told to come down and audition. So I was like, what do you want to read? I said, I'll read Vince Fontaine and Kaneki. So I read for Vince Fontaine and Kaneki, and I went home that afternoon, and I'm like, you know, maybe I should have sang. I can't sing. The next morning, the cast list comes out. I'm lying in bed. It's like 6:15 in the morning. So it was a Sunday. So it was Monday morning. It was a school day. And I'm looking at the list. This person's Danny. This person's Sandy. Kaneki, Bob Mittleman. Like, what? How the hell did I get Kaneki? It's a big part. Yeah. You want to show up? Yeah. Okay. I got Kaneki. So I called the director up. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I see something. I'm like, see what? I mean, I plan forward to change my life.
Really?
I got singing lessons. I did everything I could, and so I flipped like an idiot on stage. Yeah, and it was by far a life-changing experience, because if you could sing and act in front of people, and by the way, we did the show at Five Towns College, which is a huge theater. Yeah. It was sold out or nearly sold out. Wow. And from that point forward, I've done about, 18, 20 shows. Wow. I've been averaging about 5 a year.
Did you find that it was something that you kind of always wanted to do?
Yeah. I never knew it.
Like you'd go to like shows and be like, oh, wow, it'd be cool. How is up on stage?
Now I do.
Yeah.
But back then, I if you would have told me in 2014 that you'd been singing and acting, I would have said, what are you, out of your mind? Yeah, like Thomas Brown, click, But now I just did ragtime with the Cultural Arts Playhouse.
Yep.
And in Syosset, and that was phenomenal. I've done. I'm in rehearsals for Pippin. I'm the King.
Nice.
And there's a bunch of other stuff I've done over the years. I've had large parts, I've had small parts. It's just I really, really love it.
Yeah.
And it's unleashed me.
Mm.
Because if you could sing and dance and act in front of anybody, you could do anything.
Mhm.
And it's also shown me to make the impossible possible.
Mm.
So when I hear someone say I can't do that, I think of where I was in 2015 and beyond, by the way, where I was. Like, I joke around, I need that Peggy Sue got married time machine, because there's so much stuff I don't know, it's just based on what I've experienced lately, but it's all good.
Oh, you had to go through it to get, and now you can see your progression too, which is even cooler.
Yeah. And by the way, one of the common denominators in acting or singing in that world, which it's still 8 years for me now, is networking. Because you need to know people within that community to hear about parts, to get a chance to meet people. Like,
Yeah.
at this point in my life, after doing it for 8 years, I kind of know where to go and where not to go. In the beginning, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you start meeting people, make those connections, get invited to certain things, and then you're like, oh, okay, follow the winners, right?
Yeah.
That's it. You find the people that are winning and doing something right. You go, all right, let me become friends with these people. Let's see what they're doing.
Right. So I would have to say that making the impossible possible is the success.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally won. That's super interesting. Honestly, I've thought a lot about improv. The acting thing scares me, honestly, but I would love to do it. It totally terrifies me.
I would highly suggest doing it.
Yeah.
There are improv classes all over Long Island and different places. A lot of writers do improv. I haven't heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great tool.
Well, I would like to become a master communicator. I think it's one of the most important skills, especially in today's world. I mean, years ago, you used to have to be like a hunter-gatherer kind of thing, but now it's like communicating. If you can communicate, you can get yourself into any situation and become successful, especially in sales. That's all that it is. So
it's improv because I'm not, you have to
once the conversation starts, you have no idea what's about to happen, or if you're going to get cursed out by somebody, or if they're just going to say yes to everything you say, and you've prepared all this for nothing. So really cool. So kind of just switch gears here. I really like this question and asking people because it kind of gives me a different understanding. So growing up, there was cultural values that were given to me, like through my parents or people in my life, typically about money. So I like to ask everybody, is there any cultural values? I mean, you started off saying that you're Bob 3.0 at this point. So are there any values, cultural wise, beliefs that you had years ago that you've had to kind of change to where you are now? Is there anything that you've pinpointed that you're I had to throw that and get that out?
I mentioned earlier about leaning into your core values and understanding what they were. For the longest time, I was always, how much money can I make? I have to make more money. I got to make more. I was never satisfied. And I kind of flipped the script and started paying more attention to being more happy and healthy. And then the wealthy part was part of that equation. I've always been healthy, but that's one of the main things for me is my health. And then the happy part I really wasn't paying that much attention to. Nothing wrong with my family life and stuff like that, but I was really focusing more on how can I make more wealth, increase wealth. What's next? I threw that aside, and once I started pivoting towards focusing on the happy part of my life, everything else started to take off like a rocket ship, which is kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
So my core values are family, which a lot of people's core values are family.
Yeah.
Performing, which I get so much from that on stage, and even these ABA council meetings, I'm performing.
Yeah.
I facilitate the groups, and I'm out there coaching, but I'm also performing as a facilitator.
Yeah.
Even when I'm coaching the kids at St. Dominic's, performing, I have to be on.
Yeah.
The minute I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Life changing is one of my core values. So I really want to not only change my life and see how I can improve, but others. And the other two are success, which kind of ties into what I said earlier.
Yeah.
But not just my success, everyone else's success. And don't laugh at this, but Superman.
Yes. Like really, yeah.
Well, I joke around, loop tall buildings at a single bound. That's what I mean, making the impossible possible.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, those are my core values.
No, I love that. I mean, we all need to be a little Superman here and there kind of thing. And every single one of, usually I only get one like core value from people. So that's awesome. You have them squared away exactly what you have to kind of focus on in today's world, as opposed to like where you were years ago. But what I do notice is like you have to go through that in order to get to here. It's kind of hard to explain that to somebody and expect them to just like take on those values.
Yeah, you have to go through that and understand it. What I tell people, and again, I live this, when I find that I'm out of alignment or things aren't going right for me, or there's just something off, I look back at the core values that I have. I'm like, okay, now I see what's happening. I'm not, I got to get back to it.
Yeah, it's like your roadmap. Yeah. Well, I think everybody should have those very, like, specifically defined because of what you just said. Like, it allows you, when you do feel lost and out of place, you can kind of jump right back to those core values and go, okay, this is where I'm going. I guess I have to do that a lot of times too, because especially with people, one of the big things that I always hear is just like opportunities. You get all these opportunities thrown at you, and it can just like cloud what you're trying to do, because you're like, oh, well, that sounds cool. And I could give that a shot, or yeah, nonprofit, no problem. And it's like, before you know it, you're like, I'm not even doing what I'm doing, what I'm supposed to be doing. Kind of falls into that too, to be able to just jump back into those core values. So that's cool. It's really good. Jumping into the next thing that is about spirituality. I know you work at a Catholic school, so I don't know if that plays a part in anything. But I use a lot of like meditating and just kind of even when you just said just a few seconds ago about just like feeling off. Like if I don't do these things on a daily basis for me, I feel way off. Like if I don't just sit and just like meditate for even if it's like 10 minutes, just like get quiet. And if I don't take that time in the morning, like the rest of my day is like kind of all messed up. Do you do anything spiritually? Like if it's praying to God, or if it's meditating or manifesting, is there anything that you do like to help you move forward in life?
I think first of all, I'm religious. I'm Roman Catholic, and I do my best to get to Mass on Sundays. I have a book, Jesus Calling, that there are daily devotionals in there that I read. I think nature plays a lot of part in the spirituality for me personally. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a runner, and I find those days that I don't run is when I'm off a lot. So there's a certain spirituality / zen to the running part of it. I do it to stay in shape as well. However, when I'm outside a run, whether it's an easy run or a hard run, there's just something about it that just like really makes me feel great. So, and on the nature part of it too, a lot of vacations that we take are based on being outside, doing things. You mentioned skiing. I was snowboarding earlier. We just went skiing over the February break. It was a blast.
Yeah.
So I am spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to be one. I've heard people say that you should take your shoes off every day and stick them in the dirt or in the sand or something like that. I've heard people say that. They say like the connection with the ground and something about it. I was like, oh, maybe. I have no idea. But
Wow.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us say there's this connection between nature and just literally touching your bare feet to the ground. I was like, it's very interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I like how you have running as your kind of meditation per se, as your like personal time. For me, I hate running, but I can go for walks and I'll feel the exact same way. Like if I'm walking through like the little forest right here, it's just so nice to just kind of like get yourself away from everything. You're in your own thoughts and you can kind of focus a lot better. You have your blood flowing.
There's something about it. When I first started working on Wall Street as a professional, I used to get massive headaches at 2:00 every day. I was on medication. And I started running because my fiance, now wife, she was running. So we did it together. And I just noticed that how I felt after I was done. I was a sprinter in high school, so anything over 400 meters was death to me. It's like throwing running a mile, if even now marathon, it's forever. Blows me away. So I got off the medication, and running became my
Your medicine.
my medicine. Yeah.
Wow. It's interesting. Although I kind of feel the same way, because there are days that it's like around 2:00 and I'm like, oof, my head is pounding. I can't stare at the screen anymore. I'll go for like a walk, ride my bike, ride my skateboard, just something. I'll come back and I'll feel fine, completely refreshed. Yeah, it's wild how simple a little thing it is. And I'm not taking it. I don't like taking medicine if I don't have to, unless it's like really, really bad. Yeah, I'll take an Advil or something, but just the all natural way. So that's really good. So those two questions, great answers. On the opposite side, which would be fear, and the negative aspects of life. When fear comes through the door for you, do you have like a way of managing it? Do you use it to push you forward? You're obviously not the type of guy that crawls into a ball and hides in the corner. Do you have any like tips for people that might be listening to this, or something that you do that works for you?
I don't react right away. The general rule of thumb is to breathe for like 5 to 10 seconds and try to process what's going on. It's funny you should mention that, because I feel when stuff hits the fan that you want to be around someone like me, because I just don't react to things. I grew up watching Tom Landry when he was coaching the Cowboys, 70s, 80s. He was just so good at handling every situation with that team. So I kind of used that for myself all these years later, as far as how to process when things are going haywire. And it benefited me when I worked on Wall Street, because things went haywire quite a bit. Every day. And similar to when I owned the personal training studio with Fitness Together, and at ABA, there's always, things that pop up, not to the extent that they did when I worked on Wall Street, but things pop up, So I just recognize that it's not as bad as what you think it is. And then, you've kind of seen this before, and how can I apply it to make it work? My go-to is to say thank you. Kind of sounds odd, right? But I say thank you when these moments pop up, because it's an opportunity to learn from it versus get stressed out about it. So thank you to the universe for providing me this opportunity, and how can I make it really work to my benefit, or at least not be as bad as it seems. And when that happens, you kind of do a pivot versus, oh my God, why is this happening to me? It's why is it happening for me?
Yeah, it makes me remind myself of something my mom always told me growing up, is that we always have options. And whenever something bad happens, I try and remind myself of that. It's like, all right, well, this happens, but we have options. They might not be the best options. They might not be the options I'd like to happen, but at least I have some options here. At least there's either, maybe there's A through Z, or maybe there's A through C. I don't know, but there's always options. So I like that a lot. And you had a good comparison to the Cowboys coach, because that's definitely high stress.
Yeah, going back to what I said earlier, making the impossible possible. When stuff looks like it's not going to really work out, or something's in your way, how can I make it be doable? Again, going back to that thank you moment. When you start saying thank you versus like,
it's tough.
It's a mindset thing.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's very tough, but it's doable.
Yeah, no, with practice, and it doesn't have to start with the most outlandish of like the biggest thing. You start with the small things, they're like, oh man, I just like stubbed my toe, and you're all pissed, or like, just like whatever, that piece of mail didn't come in that you were waiting for, or just like, I don't know, just all those little things, and you're like, all right, not the end of the world.
I put the rules away last night. I had no eggs to eat. But That's how that happens.
Oh, but that is the worst. When you make food and then all of a sudden next morning you're like, shit, I didn't put it away. Oh my God. I get that. All right, cool. So, I mean, this has been awesome so far. I like to ask everybody if there's anything that you're currently working on, if there's something that you're, excited about right now. I know you mentioned a whole bunch of stuff that you're kind of involved in already, but is there anything specifically that you're working on that you would like to bring up?
I'm looking to add more runners to my database for coaching runners. This is a great time of year to start training for fall marathons. I have room on my roster for about 2 or 3 more. So, and that's at Peg of the website.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to be the next thing. So where can we find you? So
So it's runbobrun.net.
Okay.
www.runbobrun.
Run. I love that.
Yeah.
.net. Okay.
So I'm looking to add to that. With the ABLOE community, and listen, I facilitate 4 different councils. So each council has their own culture. You're in one, and the other 3 are all very different. They're all the same premise when it's all said and done, but I look at these A as communities and B as teams, and every community is different, and every team is different. So I'm looking to add people to those rosters that have the right mindset. What that means in English from a mindset point of view, people look at networking / business development at times in a transactional format. That's not what I'm all about or what ABA is all about. It's really more about how can I help you, take it from there.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody, and that's fine. And by the way, there are groups out there that are very transactional, and they're great. If that's where you want to be, go for it.
Yeah.
We're not like that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to add people to those rosters as well, and that's aba-ny.com. I have 3 councils that are your normal, quote unquote, normal groups, and I have 1 council that's strictly healthcare related, which is kind of unique in the ABA world because ABA doesn't really do that. That came to be just because someone I was having lunch with brought it up as something he was looking to do was to build a group based on healthcare, and I said, let's do it. And we built it. So you have to have, I think, 50% of your business in healthcare to just be considered as a guest. But it's a great group. In fact, I asked the group recently, do you want to bring an outsider in that doesn't have healthcare, and they said no.
Yeah, well, that's really cool that you have that.
Yeah.
Like a niche. Also, healthcare, like, they're so intertwined, you have so many different people, and like this nurse and this nurse and this nurse, and then you got doctors, and then you got people that are under all these people, and then you got administrators, and like the list is like endless.
And so you want to talk about fear? Every meeting, something comes up that goes way over my head. And I don't know how I'm going to respond to it. Because they're all in a whole different spectrum.
Yeah.
And I know the industry now more than I did before when we first started.
Yeah.
But stuff still comes up that I haven't even heard of some of these things. And they love their 3-letter acronyms. And let's say, ABC. I'm like, what is ABC?
Literally, though. One of my clients is an elder companion care company, helping hearts at home. And I just did a podcast video for them at St. John Lynn's Assisted Living, which is in like Kings Park area, maybe, or something along those lines. And they're saying all these stuff, and I'm like, what? And then afterwards, we're sitting down and having lunch, and I'm asking them questions, and I'm driving home, and I'm like, do I sound stupid to these people? Like, I don't know idea. I don't know the answers to any of these questions, but they're using, like you said, 3-letter acronyms, and I'm just like, I don't know what that means. What the heck's an HCP?
Right. It happens every meeting. So that's a unique group. And talk about a common denominator. I mean, so because of that industry, every industry has their nuances, but the healthcare is like,
yeah, you gotta know.
It's tough.
That's why you get paid the big bucks. I mean, they were saying nurses right now are making $150,000 a year, and I was like, wow. Hospital nurses, but still, I was like, wow. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So Goals, though, moving forward. Do you have any goals? I know you said you want to move down to Delaware, so that's technically a goal.
I said Delaware's Lulu in the clubhouse. That's what I said. I just said, yeah,
Okay.
my goal is to move out of New York probably in the next, within 2 years.
Okay.
I've lived here my whole life. I was born in Flushing, moved to East Northport, and Syosset, Plainview, and now back to Syosset. So, however, it's time. I kind of want to just move to another state and just see what it's like. And not being tied to a location. Like when I worked on Wall Street, I worked in the city or wherever we worked. Having the fitness studio, I had to be in Huntington. With the MBA, one of the positives of COVID is it's allowed us to go remote for most of our meetings. Some are in person, but so having that platform, I can facilitate a meeting anywhere. So I would like to move out of New York as a goal within about 2 years. I have family, and my son lives in Pennsylvania. My daughter just graduated from Hartford University, so she's looking to. She wants to be a music teacher, so she's applying for jobs in the Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania area. Not New York, because she knows we're not going to be in New York. I have another daughter who lives in San Francisco, who's probably not coming out east anytime soon. So that's one of my goals. And the other goal is to, again, add to my roster with the running platform and add to people with ABA. And continue my journey with the acting and singing. That is something I don't want to give up.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that for the rest of your life, for those things.
So that's pretty much those are the.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. I mean, really, really cool. This conversation has been amazing. I've learned even more about you. I just know. I was like, I know a lot about Bob already. We'll see how deep this can go. But that's what I was saying. Like, you ask these questions, and I tell this to everybody, like these lists of questions, I would never ask somebody in a regular conversation. Like, what does success mean to you? Like, just like, you don't ask that, you can kind of go around those, maybe kind of figure it out through like different conversations, but just to ask the general question about, success and fear and so on.
So I have one more goal. I forgot about.
Yeah, or
I've been asked to do life coaching. I'm not a life coach. Like, I'm not certified. However, I've seen everyone like I said, and I've been asked to consult on some things. So as a consultant, I could do it. So it's something that's on my radar, and I love doing it.
What about like business coaching though?
That too, I could do that too if I wanted to. I've been asked to participate in something like that. So I do it for the fun of it and to help people. So those really are the main things. That's a goal of mine. And I can do it whenever and however I want.
Literally with Zoom today, you can do it.
There's no 4 walls.
Nope.
Right?
Yep.
So
it's kind of the beauty of all this. I mean, even with my line of work, there's a lot of people that I'm in person and I work with, but there's also a lot of people that I haven't seen in months because I just don't need to. And like, that's awesome. I can literally move to a different country if I wanted to, and probably still make more money. Most of the people that live there remotely from stuff in New York or all around the world, all I need is good internet access. That's it.
Yeah. And one of my counselors, there's a gentleman on there that he's not very good at networking. So I told him on the phone, I said, you're horrible at this. I don't even know why you're doing this, but why are you even in this council? He said, I know I'm horrible at it, and that's why I'm in the council. I need your help. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
Those are the type of conversations that I love.
You have to call people out on the truth and let them know what you're seeing. You also don't want to waste people's time or their money, realistically, because then they're going to badmouth you.
Exactly.
I just had a client like that. I tried cutting him off at the month mark. I was like, look, we just worked together for 1 month. I don't think this is a good fit. And he doubled down. He was like, oh, no, let's do it. Oh, come on, man, I'm ready. I was like,
yeah, this is the best conversation.
Yeah. And then month 2, same conversation again. He's like, all right, I think you're right. I was like, you should have listened to me on one when you only paid for 1 month, But it is what it is, You try to be honest with people, and it's kind of ball in their court at that point. You're like, all right, whatever. Cool. So you kind of already said if people wanted to find you directly, where would they go if they wanted to reach out to Bob?
Roundabout.net is the coaching site for runners.
Yeah.
I recently did a show and someone came up to me and said, "You coach runners? I saw it online." I'm like, "How did you know about it? I didn't even talk about it." She said, "Well, I looked you up." Like, oh my God,
There you go.
So you never know.
You never know.
And then ABA is ABA-NY.com.
Okay. You're on LinkedIn, right?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn.
Sweet. Well, thanks so much for coming out here.
It was blessed.
Yeah, it's super fun. Like I said, it's very, very chill. And hopefully, I don't know when, but maybe in 6 months, a year. I'm not sure. Eventually, I'll put all these together and try and really inspire people through just letting them know what it is like to follow the winners. And these are some tips and tricks that you can take to get there,
Listen, I think it's a great idea on your part because you're starting out and you're getting all this information from people that are winners.
Yeah.
And you can use it to your advantage.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And anybody else that I can help, that's kind of the goal, just gotta start with one. That's it. That's really it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Awesome.